Well, Derbyites, it is Oscar nominations morning. It is very early on the West Coast, but that doesn't mean that we're not up and excited to talk about the 96th Oscar nominations just announced. I'm Tony Ruiz here with my colleagues Charlie Bright and Christopher Tsang, and the moral of the story is Oppenheimer dominates. Barbie does well, but it's not quite a Barbenheimer morning. A little more of the Heimer than the Barbie. Oppenheimer gets 13 nominations. Barbie gets 8. Just initially, Chris, we'll go to you. First thoughts, first reactions.
I, as far as the main categories go, I think there weren't, they played out very well. I was very happy for Oppenheimer and Poor Things, especially, which I think got 12. Um, the Killer's Miss in actor and adapted screenplay. I think those were surprising, but we had like little tea leaves of that, and I'm really happy for Anatomy of a Fall and pretty much like that Best Picture lineup. It's the first year that the PGA went 10 for 10, as we all predicted. So um, there weren't that many shockers. It was a really good morning.
Charlie, any shockers that stand out to you?
Yeah, there's a couple there, Killers of the Flower Moon, missing adapted screenplay. I had a feeling Leo, I've been having a feeling that Leo was in danger for a while. I was telling our Slack chat thread earlier, I was like, they said I was mad to take him out a couple months ago. I tell you. Um, but that adapted screenplay is very, very, and I'm sure that was it Eric Roth and Martin Scorsese who wrote that screenplay are cursing Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach for Barbie getting in there. But I think it was interesting, and I like that that some of the totals that these got. Like, I'm glad Zone of Interest was able to get 5 nominations, not just picture, directing, and international feature, but also get in for the sound, the incredible sound work of it. Made me very happy. It's one of those things where it's like where it's weird that Barbie had the morning that it did, where it gets in some places but it didn't get in other places. So, like, when we saw America Ferrera come up there in supporting actress, I think a lot of us were like, oh, this movie might be having a really good day, and then it misses film editing and sound, and we're just like, oh, okay, maybe not.
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, yeah.
Yeah, Ken nominated, but Barbie not. Yeah, it's interesting in just how few surprises. I mean, sometimes we get. I think you could say that maybe like Annette Bening getting in is somewhat of a surprise, considering there's over, say, like Greta Lee, but it's so lacking in some of those super shockers that there's no Andrea Riceborough this year. There's no.
We're not going to have an Andrea Riceborough for another several years.
That's also true. In terms of Oppenheimer's performance, are you guys shocked that, or surprised at all that it kind of got everything that we thought it was going to get? I think we all had it for getting at least 12 or 13.
I actually predicted every one of its nominations. But when we're watching these things get announced, we're always wondering, because it always seems like some film will miss in some place that's very surprising, like Killers missing an adapted screenplay, Poor Things missing in visual effects, and so the whole morning I was kind of waiting like, okay, is Oppenheimer going to miss anywhere? And it didn't.
Yeah, I think I also had it in every category. I had like some hesitance in some of the tech categories, such as costume design, maybe makeup, but at the same time, I just couldn't find a stronger alternative uh, for either of those categories that would replace it. So I just thought they would just like check it all the way.
Yeah, what I found really interesting, just looking at my list right now, is how many I predicted four out of five, and it seems like in a lot of categories, it's that fifth slot that could either make you or break you in terms of your predictions.
Agreed.
Yeah, no question on that one.
Especially with those tech categories.
Yeah, and I know that let's talk about the nominations that made us really really happy. And Charlie, I know that you have a couple that made you super happy, particularly like uh, Robot Dreams.
Yeah, Robot Dreams getting into animated feature was a pleasant surprise. I saw that back in October, and the movie's just wonderful. As I've always say about this movie, I've never had a happy ending leave me feeling so devastated. That's just the kind of movie it is, and it's really sweet and it's really good. And credit to Neon on that one for because they were the people that had that one, and they showed once again that they have a really good savvy on this type of thing.
Yeah, a lot of my happy nominations came from the international feature and the tech categories. I was really happy Godzilla made visual effects. That seemed like it was very on the bubble for that. The international feature category, Perfect Days and Io Capitana, I think we all kind of rode those two off given their performance in the precursors, but those made it in. The shorts, I did pretty well, mostly 3 for 5. I'm really happy for Nai Nai and WIPO making documentary short. Um, it's and Red, White, and Blue for live action, along with Wes Anderson. He finally gets another nomination for that.
I would also
Yeah,
say
go.
it was an expected one, but I really was happy for Jonathan Glazer getting into directing and adapted screenplay as well. I think he's one of the most interesting directors that's working right now, and I remember and I'm such a fan of his music videos. Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity and the incredibly disturbing Rabbit in Your Headlights by Uncle featuring Tom York. So to see him get in, and also seeing how well both that and Anatomy of a Fall did shows that again is this continuing thing of the Cannes Film Festival of winners at the Cannes Film Festival ending up being now more often than not becoming major Oscar competitors.
Especially in a year when we all predicted that the Best Picture category would nominate 2 international films for the first time, it would be really hard for the directors branch, the most international branch of the Academy, to not nominate at least one of them. So the fact that both of them got in is a major accomplishment.
Yeah, I was particularly thrilled with um, I think the America Ferrera in supporting actress is a perfect testament of timing being everything. Um, I think I put her in right after her big speech at the Critics' Choice Awards, which happened just right at the end of Oscar voting. Um, and it's amazing that she wasn't in the conversation from the beginning, considering that she had the speech of the entire movie season. Um, the other one that I'm actually really happy about is Sterling K. Brown. Um, he just every time he's on screen in American Fiction, he just kind of steals the movie away from Jeffrey Wright. So it's great to see him have his first Oscar nomination. Um, anything let's talk about nominations that didn't happen that you wanted to. Chris, anyone's that you were like, damn, that missed?
Uh, I had a feeling DiCaprio would miss, but I really liked his performance in Killers of the Flower Moon, so I was a little sad he didn't make it in. Greta Lee for Past Lives, I kept her in against all odds, but I knew there was a chance that she would miss. I think Past Lives pretty much pulled a woman talking with Best Picture and only an original screenplay. I thought Penelope Cruz would make it in. Ferrari pretty much blanked overall, and there's more. I just can't think right now.
It's early.
Yeah.
Charlie, I hate the word snub, but any miss outs that caught your attention?
Yeah, I know. I was holding on to the prediction till the end. That Hayao Miyazaki might become the first director to get nominated in directing for an animated movie. I knew it was a very big long shot, but I thought if anyone could do it, he could. Um, I was also a bit. I was also. I knew the chances were dwindling there, but I was disappointed for Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers. Although we kind of knew after he missed at BAFTA that was going to be a really tough a really tough obstacle to overcome. And also just All of Us Strangers overall missing was a little disappointing. I'm also disappointed for Beyond Utopia in the documentary category. I'm as someone who has a very strange fascination with North Korea. I just absolutely was blown away by that movie. Um, yeah, and I think that's all I can think of at the moment.
I am
Yeah,
sad Fallen Leaves missed international. It did very well at the Globes, but it didn't do that well with the industry guilds, related guilds, so that might have been a sign that it might miss here.
yeah, I was equally, I was kind of equally sad about the lack of Beyond Utopia. That was, I thought, one of the best films of the year, not just one of the best documentaries of the year. I was really thrilled that The Eternal Memory got into doc feature because that film just destroyed me when I saw it, and I hope more people get to see that. Um, I echo the Penelope Cruz. I think she gives the supporting performance of the year in Ferrari. I think Ferrari deserved a lot more love than it got, and Dominic Sessa, who I thought had the breakthrough performance of the year in The Holdovers. I really thought he had a shot of getting in. So that makes me sad. So here, based on this morning, where do you think the state of the race is now? We've got a while. We've got until March 10th, but I think this is clearly Oppenheimer's to lose, at least in picture and director, right?
I mean, if it loses picture, or more specifically, actually more emphatically director, it'll be one of the biggest upsets of the past 20-30 years.
It could overtake every last year's with Everything Everywhere All at Once with the most wins. I think it had 7 wins. Oppenheimer can easily go past that.
Yeah, we haven't also Poor Things, I think, did really, really, really well today. With what, 11 nominations, 12,
Yeah,
11? 11. Is that, do you guys think that's the primary alternative?
It could. It does have a shot now with. I know it's basically neck and neck with Barbie for production design, costume design. Um, it could win makeup. It could win adapted screenplay. Emma Stone still it can very likely win her second Oscar, so it could come away with a lot of wins.
yeah. I think it's shown to be uh, a very strong one. Although maybe this is kind of giving uh, echoes of Yorgos Lanthimos' last movie at the Oscars, The Favor, which 10 nominations, only won the one for Olivia Colman. Um, it's I don't know. I think it is probably the most likely alternative. Uh, But I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon still making uh, double-digit nominations, and also, you know, Maestro had a pretty damn good morning too, with 7 nominations.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, you go.
Well, I was just thinking, you know, we're at this point in now where we've got this kind of lull. Like when is SAG again? When do SAG and BAFTA happen? BAFTA happens after SAG.
Probably like 6 days after BAFTA. So like probably towards the end of February.
So there's still time for momentums to shift. I mean, as of right now, um, you know, there's definitely some front runners, but a lot can change. Do you think anything in the nominations today changes kind of the trajectory of the race in a lot of the top categories?
The best actor race is definitely one to look out for. Um, Holdovers did pretty well, but it did miss, like you said, it did miss Sessa, and it will be interesting to see what BAFTA and SAG do. They could easily go for different winners, but it's hard to imagine if Oppenheimer does end up pulling a sweep of the tech categories, winning director and picture, and Robert Downey Jr. We could be thinking on Oscar night, oh, maybe Cillian Murphy can like go along for the ride.
Yeah, it's interesting. The lead categories seem to be the most toss up.
That's what I was just about to say. It's like the supporting categories seem pretty sewn up, especially when in supporting actress, we thought the biggest competitor to Divine Joy Randolph is Danielle Brooks, and she's the only nomination for The Color Purple. So yeah, actor is really interesting, and it seems like it's between Giamatti and Murphy, but you know, who knows what can happen at SAG and even at BAFTA. And I'm also, you know, kind of thinking at BAFTA that Sandra Hüller has a good shot of taking actress there, especially since Lily Gladstone isn't there. So these races still have the potential to get very interesting, and I think they're the actor and actress are the two most interesting ones of this season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch BAFTA and SAG specifically for actors, especially if Hüller wins BAFTA, Gladstone wins SAG, and Emma Stone loses both.
But I'd still say she'd still have a damn good. She still has a solid shot at the Oscar, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, looking at it right now, the two categories that I would have a really hard time predicting right now are the two screenplay categories. I think there's really strong competition in those two. I could see in adapted, you know, I could see really conceivably 4 out of the 5 being competitive. I think Oppenheimer and Poor Things and American Fiction and Barbie could really fight that one out. I mean, obviously, I think most people think that that's like the biggest Barbenheimer argument, but I could see them going any number of ways there.
I actually think, at least at the moment, initially, I think that with original screenplay, I've always felt like The Holdovers just feels like that kind of just feels like a kind of screenplay that would win at the Oscars, and so I kind of feel like that has a bit of an edge there. That's just my perception. It's going to be tough because we're not going to have WGA to as an indicator as to what people might be thinking, and also with adapted screenplay. I mean, Oppenheimer has to be taken seriously because that could be just like, you know, like when the Lord of the Rings, Return of the King won, and probably the most surprising win of that night was when it won adapted screenplay. But I think American Fiction sounds like feels it's also about writing itself, that it's going to be pretty solid. So I kind of think that those are kind of your two front runners there, but I do think that those are also are very fluid and have an immense amount of uncertainty to it.
Yeah, I agree. American Fiction did really well today with the nomination, so it has a really good shot of if it wins, this is a really good category where it's likely um, to triumph. It won the Critics' Choice. Uh, Sometimes that doesn't mean anything, but it definitely like gets the ball rolling for that. For original screenplay, I think it's between Anatomy and The Holdovers. Um, right now, thinking The Holdovers, if it wins screenplay supporting Randolph and Paul Giamatti, um, I'm not 100% certain on that, but Anatomy of a Fall did very well, and it's shown that it's not losing steam anytime soon. And Trier and Harari won the Globe, so that is also building some momentum for it. And this is also a category where I could pick up maybe its only win if Sandra Hüller doesn't win actress.
Yeah, and I was thinking about what you said earlier, Chris, that Past Lives kind of went the women talking route. Well, women talking one screenplay, so maybe they decide that this is where they put Celine Song. Um, Final thoughts. We're obviously going to need some time to digest a lot of this, but um, what are your kind of final reflections as many of us start our day?
I will say to the Academy, keep up this format of presenting the nominations, because the way they did it this year and last year works extremely well. I thought that, and this year I thought Jack Quaid and Zazie Beetz both brought a great energy to it. Zazie at first seemed like, felt like how most of us, or I'm guessing how most of you feel on the West Coast, like, dear God, it's 5:30 in the morning.
Dear God, it's still dark outside.
Exactly. As it went on, once she got into the rhythm of it, she was enthusiastic as hell. And so I would just say, and I like having the audience there. They clap for all of them when they get nominated. Some of them needed to stop clapping because that clapping went on a bit too long, and I could kind of feel like I think I could kind of feel like Jack Quaid thinking, there's more we got to get to. Come on. So yeah, those are my final thoughts. And an Oppenheimer sweep is not something that would disappoint me. So I'm looking forward to March 10th.
Yeah, these nominations turned out mostly as we all predicted, but there are still categories, like you said, that we have no idea who the winners are going to be, specifically with screenplay, lead acting, the shorts, and even things like documentary. That category went on a whirlwind. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as the guilds like chime in with their winners.
Yeah, all I keep thinking is there's a lot of time between now and March 10th, uh, when they at 4 p.m. Pacific, an hour earlier, which means that those of you on the East Coast will actually get to finish the Oscars and not feel like it's the next day. Um, um, but yeah, I'm really interested to see with this crop of nominees. Um, I'm interested to see like how momentum shifts, particularly in those top categories, in the acting categories and screenplay. I'm really interested to see if SAG and BAFTA give us any indication, because sometimes they're right on, and sometimes they leave you more confused than you were before.
No question.
Especially last year.
Well, no matter what happens, everybody, please go to Gold Derby. The Prediction Center will be active soon. Just lost my earphone. Oh, well. It's early. Go to goldderby.com, make your predictions. As soon as the Prediction Center is active, be sure to stay tuned for all of the Oscars coverage between now and March 10th, and including our pre and post shows on the day of the Oscars. Charlie Bright, Christopher Tsang. We will be reconvening in the coming weeks, and hang on, guys. It's going to be a fun ride. Take care.